That's fantastic. All right, just started the recording. So Francois, I appreciate the compliment and I'm really glad, what we're going to be able to do here from Rubicon's standpoint. And I want to do this once a week because, we used to have 2 calls a week inside of the Success Publishing environment. And that was strictly limited to how to use your authority as becoming an author. And what you're going to see is some new faces that are going to pop up here in the Rubicon system, because you're going to see some of my Pathfinders, which are graduates that have gone through my entire Rubicon system before. It's a 10-week training program. So you're going to see some of them eventually join us. But right now, I just wanted to kind of help all of you get reconnected with me and really kind of give you an idea of what Rubicon is capable of doing in a more broader sense. So yes, we'll be covering everything from being introspective, focusing on life. In fact, this morning, we're going to go through something that I call my PTO, which is prepping the objective. So what does it mean? What is the process and the regimen about getting prepared every day? How important is it? And what are the processes that I use that I've been using for years and continuing to tune those up so that every day I spend at least 30 or 45 minutes working up here and working inside from a mental and a spiritual gymnastic standpoint to get me prepped to be able to connect with my day, to be able to be at the top level. Okay, so is that what everybody's here for? Is everybody here to learn that? Is that going to be on target for you?
Yes, that'd be great.
Good. Okay. Hey, Heather, good to hear you. How are you doing, Heather?
I'm doing great.
Good to hear you. Okay, well, here's what we'll do. Let me get Marcella in. Okay, so what is Rubicon and how is it a broader system? Obviously, all of you on here right now are authors or newly becoming authors in the process. And as Francois mentioned there a minute ago, the whole process is, I don't want to say it's cathartic, but I think it has an element like that. So when you start digging in to write your story, to figure out what is it that you want to do to impact the world, and how do you want to compress that to 2,000 words, that's what causes you to do that deep introspection to go, okay, what am I about? And if I've only got 5 minutes to be able to connect with someone, not knowing where they're going next, what is it that I would want to communicate that would be my most valuable insight that could help someone else get through their most difficult part of their life, right? Is that what we're here for? Yep. Everybody's up.
Yes.
Good. Inez, I see you there. Did you have some technical difficulties?
I certainly did have technical difficulties. It happens to the best of us, Steve.
Awesome. Well, all good. Well, here's what we're going to do from a Rubicon standpoint. Rubicon is a personal performance system that I wrote back in 2015 and 2016. I took several over about a 15-year period during my Rubicon development stage. It was a combination of everything I'd learned in my life, from philosophy to psychology to behavioral sciences to sociology, but really trying to understand how we can perform at our peak performance. And so a lot of you know that I got a lot of my concept, my fundamental basis came from my father that was a Marine. I guess you'd call him Special Force Marine because he was in recon, did some combat time. And so when as a kid, the thing that I was focused on is basically becoming a Marine, but because that's kind of how he trained me my entire lifetime. So we learned something that Marines call a P6, and I won't use that term specifically because there's ladies presence, and there is a little bit, it's a little off color, as you can imagine. Marines aren't usually concerned about that. So I've actually altered a little bit. It's called P5 system. If you've seen the actual training manual for Rubicon, it is about passionately preparing, practicing, and planning to perform. Okay, so those are the 5 P's: passionately, planning, preparing, and practicing to perform. Okay, so everything about the ethos of Rubicon is a Latin phrase, and I'm going to try to pronounce it. It's a dead language, so I'm probably going to say it incorrectly, but it looks like AMNAT CURIAM VICTORIAM. And the term that I understand it translates to in English is victory loves preparation. So when we're planning and we're preparing and we're practicing to do what? What are we doing this for? Why are we showing up on a call right now? You could be doing anything else. You could be having a cup of coffee, sitting on your porch, talking to a client, or listening to music, okay, or watching the morning news. And so the thing that you have to understand is, well, what are you doing that's bringing you here? Why are you here hanging out with this guy that lives his life to do one thing, and that is to constantly increase my performance? That's the Japanese term kaizen, is the continuous improvement. And so we share that ideal together, that we're constantly wanting to increase our level of performance. but what for? Okay, and that's the thing that if you've seen the Rubicon Performance page, you know, one of the things I popped in there yesterday was about a discussion coming out of one of the Batman Dark Knight movies. And he had, you know, left his privileged world that Bruce Wayne lived in and went out to live in the criminal underworld because it was a place that scared him. It was a place that he found that he was fearful of. And since he was fearful of it, what was he teaching us? He was teaching us about going to where our fears are and facing them. And in the middle of that, he got lost in his idea to understand the criminal underworld. And he was finally met by a guy named, what's his name? Was it Ra's al Ghul? I think is the name they referred to him as. And there's a great little discussion there. And obviously I love to use clips out of movie and media because it says things so much more poignantly. They have so much more what I call impact. But he talks to him about, what are you searching for? What are you doing here? You know, you're a billionaire prince of Gotham. And what are you doing here in the underworld of a Chinese prison camp? You don't have to be here. What is it that you're searching for? And he found that he didn't even know Bruce Wayne had kind of lost himself. He was on this endeavor like many of us get to, and we're hunting and we're stumbling forward. We never back up and stop for a little bit, which is kind of what I did the last 2 or 3 months, and say, okay, what is the next step, Steve? What are we doing? And why are we doing it? Okay. And that's the most important thing when we talk about Simon Sinek. You know, the whole idea is we have to know why we are doing what we're doing. We all know what we do. We know how we do it. But if you don't understand why you're doing it and you're not communicating that in a passionate fashion, people are not going to stop to listen. They're too busy being distracted by what? By all the other sensationalism, you know, whatever the new variant is, and what if the boosters are going to work or not, and what about you know, the currency of your country, what about you know, interest rates, and all these other things that are what? Constant distractions on top of us doing what? Taking care of our family, taking care of our finances, taking care of our businesses. And don't you feel overwhelmed sometimes? You feel overwhelmed? Yes. All the time. Okay. So here's the thing. How can I help you today? This is the reason why I wanted to relaunch Rubicon. I haven't taught Rubicon in about since 2016 was the last graduating class of Pathfinders that I took through there. So I wanted to start bringing this to you on a Monday morning. I want to challenge you every week. If you can't be here live, I will put this on my YouTube channel. Okay. Everyone knows my YouTube channel is, right? If not, hang on, let me just do this a second. I'm going to grab my link and I'm going to throw it right here in. So you can let's see, copy that. I'll put this right here in the chat. So if you haven't found my channel, there's my YouTube channel. Okay. And in that will also be information that you can see everything that he's working on right now. Okay. So everything that I look at, I'm focusing on everything from my charitable organization that I fund, which is Fund Operation Underground Railroad, to Robin Sharma's ideas on morning breakthroughs. You can see that at the very top category when you jump on there. The first principles concept that Elon Musk uses as far as a scientific principle of how to solve problems. How many of you have problems that you don't know how to solve? Okay, well, I go out and find this stuff because, like people refer to me, my sister calls me a repository of useless information. Okay, so she's very tough. She's a tough critic. Okay, but really what I am is I'm a nerd. Okay, and I'm a YouTube nerd. And so what I'm constantly looking for is going through video content or information. I'm constantly looking for, how do I improve me so that I can give more back and I can make the world better. That is what my mission is deliberately causing affirmative outcomes that would not have occurred otherwise. You know, like, Steve, that's your mission statement. You just threw it right off the top of your head. Yes, because I've crafted that over time. You wake me up in the middle of the night, put a gun to my head and say, Steve, why are you doing life? It's deliberately causing affirmative outcomes that would not have occurred otherwise. So when I'm giving you that, I'm giving you an example. Yours doesn't have to be put together like mine. I took 20 years to write that and redraft it, refocus it. But you need to know if someone wakes you up in the middle of the night and says, why are you seeking authority? What is it that you want to do with that? Why do you want to tell your story? Why do you care? Okay, why don't you just get lost in this world and distracted by like everyone else and just fall down and do a whole lot of misdirected nothingness that you feel like you're a dog chasing your tail around a tree, right? We get that way, right? That's what we feel like. And that's, in my opinion, that's kind of like what the world is designed for. Everything from social media to our phones. I mean, how many of you know that you look at your phone over 100 times a day? How many of you know that?
Yes,
Okay, it's become
maybe 1,000.
It's our habit pattern. We're Pavlovian, okay? We're constantly looking to see what's new on Facebook. Or did Steve send me something else on Messenger? Just add me to a new group called Authors Only Synergy. What's that group about? Are you looking at your WhatsApp, or you're checking your LinkedIn, or you're looking at your emails, right? It's a constant thing. And so what Rubicon is here to help you with is, how do we take all of those things that are designed to distract and disrupt, and how do we quiet the noise and get down to the things that are going to do what? They're going to help us to be as you wish to see. So if you jump into my manual, which we'll be taking a group through starting on January 1st, I will pick a group of individuals. I'm not going to charge you anything for this, so don't freak out or anything like that. This is something I want to do for you. And I want to do this on a virtual basis, but I will take you through my Rubicon system through a 10-week training program, and it's designed to change your life. It's going to be a masterclass, okay? And you're going to go, oh my gosh, I've never learned so much in my life. And that's exactly what it's going to be like, getting a drink from a fire hydrant. I'm going to give you tons of resources. My manual has been downloaded like 40,000 times off of my website since I put it up 5 years ago. I've never charged anybody for it. I want this to be my research that I've developed. And what I'm giving you by this is, you're like, okay, Steve, so you're an author too. Why are you doing all this? Okay. Why are you constantly delivering content like the book that I just launched yesterday from up on top of that 600-foot mountain called Table Rock Mountain? I launched a book called Paid in Full. I'm doing that because I found something else in the middle of my research, because I'm a nerd, that has to do with a way to cut down someone's debt load by 4 times as fast, to save you $133,000 in your mortgage interest. When I found it, I couldn't believe it. I've been in the financial industry for 3 decades. I tore it apart, took the engines apart, looked at it and said, oh my gosh, this is a breakthrough. What if I was able to package this in such a way that I could deliver it in a book? And that's what I did. If you've got a chance to look at it, you've already seen the book. It's in a PDF format. It's 8.5 by 11. I haven't technically published on Amazon yet. I'm actually just putting it out there to get your feedback, but I'm more talking about the example of why do this. Why take the time, which I shut down for over 3 weeks. I didn't do anything else for 11, 12 hours a day except write this whole book. And this is exactly why Matt created his program, where you can just write 1 chapter in 3 hours, 2,000 words, and get your book published. Because what I did in those 2 or 3 weeks, I'm literally talking about when I came down out of my office. You know, if it wasn't for Amy being so helping me focus on what my mission is to help and make a difference in this world, I'm brain dead. Okay. But when you do that, and you do that for an excellent idea, for a reason, what are you able to do? What are you able to accomplish? You're able to change people's futures. And here's what happens. And this is what part of Rubicon is about, is it's helping you recognize that where we spend a majority of our time is where? In the future, in the present, or in the past? It's mostly in the past. And if you listen to, I'm on blank here for just a second. I listen to him all the time. I was just listening, Joe, Dr. Joe, who am I blanking on? Somebody help me.
Joe Dispenza.
Dr. Joe Dispenza. Okay. So we're going to talk a little bit about his formula. Thank you, Nisa, for that. Joe Dispenza. So one of the things we're going to start here is every Monday morning when we all meet together here, this is going to be a structure for you. And I know some of you, this is Monday afternoon, maybe even Monday evening. But here's what our focus is designed to do, is help you start your week off correctly with how do you start your day off correctly. And then on the rest of the week, this is designed for you to do this yourself. So one of the first things that we do is we're going to focus on gratefulness. And we're going to focus on gratefulness in 3 areas. Why? Because the research that I've done says if you focus on being grateful first, what happens to your performance? Somebody help me.
It goes up.
It goes up by how much? 31%. 31%. So how do you want to increase your performance by 31%? How many would like that? Raise your hand. Thumbs up.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
What does the research say? This is not anecdotal. This is science. The science is you start with your gratefulness. When you focus on gratefulness, and then we'll use Dr. Joe Dispenza's perspective, it's not just being grateful about the things in our life or in the immediate past, but we're also going to focus on how do we become grateful for the future that we are creating. And when we become the architects of our future, where we are using visual motor rehearsal to dream about what we are creating, who we are impacting with our books, with our authority, about the world that we see that's a better world because we decided not to sit by and acquiesce. We decided to take what we knew, how we knew it, and even the best that we could do it in. And it doesn't have to be perfect. That's the whole thing. When you press the record button and you jump on a call or you publish a book or you put a post out there, if it's got spelling errors, it's okay. It happens. Okay. If you make a mistake in there and you say, too many times, it's okay. It's part of the process. What people will listen to is the sincerity, the authenticity, the genuineness of why you are doing what you're doing. And each of us have our niche. Each of us have that story that's slightly different from everyone else. And your audience, as we've talked about many times, is waiting to hear your story because you're the one that's going to turn their life. You're the one that's going to nudge them just a little bit in the right direction. It's going to ensure that they make the impact into their world. Is everybody with me on that? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so let's focus on gratefulness, okay? So we're gonna do a quick exercise here because we all want 31% increase in productivity. So number one, I want you to think about in your mind something in the recent past, probably yesterday, something that happened in your life that you're grateful for. So let's take 10 seconds and think about it. Okay. Now, in the last 2 or 3 days, I want you to think about something that you're grateful for in your business life. Okay. And then number 3, I want you to think about something that you're grateful for as far as the characteristics of who you are. Some piece of your own character. What are you grateful for how you perform? Now, each of these acknowledgments that you've made to yourself right now is critical because of why. We have 50,000+ comments today that we make to ourselves. And what percentage of those are negative? Roughly 80 to 90%. 80+% of the self comments, 50,000 comments we make to ourselves are negative. All right. So how important is it for you to begin, not just every morning, but you can do this on every meeting with every client, with every Zoom that you get on, is why not begin with something about taking a moment to be grateful? Grateful for where you're at, grateful for something in your business life, grateful for an element of who you are. Now, I want to take you to something new that you may not have practiced before unless you listen to Joe Dispenza, is what we live in our life is a constant repetition of what we have done in our past. How many of you still commute to work? A few? Okay. When you commute to work, have you ever left your driveway where you put your key in your car when you started your car and you pulled into wherever you work and you don't remember the distance between on what you did, the turns, the driving through traffic at 60, 70 miles an hour? How many of you had that experience?
Absolutely.
Okay, now how did you get there without thinking about every one of those steps, every turn, because of what? What happened in your mind? Someone tell me.
Also, automatic pilot is I've been conditioned.
That's right. You get a conditioning. And what our being human beings, what's so wonderful about us is we have the ability to create these things called habit. And those are pathways in our minds that have neural synaptic connections that allow us to do driving even at 60 miles an hour, okay, and not run into somebody else because we're not actually thinking about the bumper that we're sliding around that car to change lanes. We've just done it so many times, and it allows our mind to do what else? To think about other things. And maybe what most of us do maybe too often is we go unconscious. We don't even know what we're thinking about. We're not even focusing on our thoughts. We're just letting everything kind of bounce around us. So we don't have a focused picture on where we're at and what we're doing, okay? So how can we affect this? Okay, we can affect this by, if we're constantly living in our past and thinking about what happened in 6th grade, or thinking about the comment that went on 2-3 days ago in a business environment that made you feel less than you should have felt. All these things that go on inside of us, the fears that we have about whether we're going to meet our goals and objectives, whether that's financial, whether that's family, or spiritual, or physical, right? We all have those things. They're bouncing around all the time in our head, right? And if you try to sit there and quiet down that chatter, that's called what? What is that practice of quieting the chatter? It's called meditation. Okay. How many of you practice meditation every day? Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, some of you don't have your camera on, but I'm going to imagine everybody knows they should do that. That's part of teaching and training your mind to learn how to pay attention to where you're at right now, to sit here in the moment, to follow your breath, and to just take a moment to stop thinking about all that stuff in the past that you're worried about, that is a story that you're telling yourself that, guess what, isn't even true. It's the way you decided to perceive it. Your memory of the past is not truth. Whether you read Eckhart Tolle or you read any of the other great thinkers, your past is a perspective of how you have decided to remember how an event occurred. It is not the truthful way of it occurring. So when you relive your past and you feel bad about it, you're beating yourself up for probably no good reason. Okay? So one of the greatest things you can do is to start letting go of those worrying and thinking about the past and rehashing and dealing with it, and start trying to spend more of your thought process being conscious in the present moment, being thinking about where you're at right now, being thinking of what is it that you can do to be the greatest service to humanity with the talents and the skills and the insights that you have discovered. Does that make sense? Okay, Nisa, you had a comment? You wanted to jump in here? There you go.
Sorry, I was just saying that, yes, I do meditate and do the gratitude every morning.
Okay.
In fact, when I'm having a rough time, I actually meditate 2 or 3 times, even if I've got a lot to do, because there was a sage that actually said that everybody should meditate. Everyone should meditate at least half an hour a day.
Sure.
But if you're a very busy person, then you should meditate 2 hours a day.
Right. And when you hear that, it's counterintuitive. You're like, wait a second, didn't they just hear what I said?
Yes.
I'm a very busy person.
Exactly.
Right. And, I find, and this is something that, that I'm still working on myself. I'm a very focused, dedicated individual that really bears down on our subject matter. Okay. And we're running out of time here, but I want to try to focus on this here in the next few seconds. Is how do you help yourself focus? Okay. You have to be able to answer a question, and you can get this whether you read the book called Essentialism or you focus on the Rubicon manual that I'll be showing you guys how to use in Mondays in the future. But you have to know what your ultimate purpose is in life. What is your biggest why? What do you want to have contributed to this world? And I call it the Gravestone Experience, and I'll give it to you in 30 seconds. I have 2 videos in my mind, and the 2 videos are my children standing at 2 different events of my gravestone with a hole in the ground, and Dad is down there in that hole. I've expired. And there's 2 different choices, 2 different videos, 2 different endings. One of them is my kids right on the stone. Here lies an average man, just like everyone else. Okay. How many of you would like to have that on your gravestone written by your children? Okay.
No.
Absolutely not. My other one, my alternate universe, my parallel universe, my preferred universe, they write one word on there: worthy. So in my life, in my mind, when I'm trying to decide what is the most effective thing for me to do today, what is the most effective thing for me to focus on this week, this month, this year, all the way down to the rest of my life, I can go to that simple concept in my mind and say, Steve, is what you're getting ready to do right now, whether you're on your computer, whether you're getting on a Zoom call with people that you love, that's your family, whether you're spending an event with your kids flying in and your grandson, is this going to take you closer to gravestone number 1, here lies an average man like everyone else, or gravestone number 2, worthy? And for me, this is how I define the 2 that allows me to pick out what is the most effective use of my thoughts when I become conscious, of my actions, and when I am interacting with other people, when I'm looking at my to-do list every day. This allows me to become not just efficient, okay, but effective. What is the difference between efficiency and effective? Okay. Efficiency is writing a to-do list. And that's wonderful if you do that, because that puts you ahead of 90, maybe 80, 90% of the folks on the planet, because they just do whatever willy-nilly. Okay. When you write a list down, you're efficient. When you take that list and you go back and ask yourself the question, which one of these to-dos are going to take me closer to my ultimate outcome in life? It's going to help me become that better person that I'm striving to become, to live that story that I want to tell my grandchildren. Then all those other efficient things pale in comparison and fall down the list, and you find out what is the most important thing to do, and maybe the second most important thing to do, and you shut everything else off and you immerse yourself, you focus. And when you do that, that's when you start having this life that has the significance and the contribution. If you know what the 6 human needs are, okay, those are number 3 and number 4. You have to have a feeling of significance that what you're doing, the reason why people feel depressed, the reason why people have, they're not neurochemical imbalance, they're psychoses, okay, if I'm using the term correctly. Dr. Viktor Frankl talked about this in his book, Man's Search for Meaning. You can solve all of the psychoses if you do one most important thing. You figure out what is full of meaning, logos. What is logo to you? What is the meaning to you, the big ultimate meaning in your life? Mine is to deliberately cause affirmative outcomes that would not have occurred otherwise. For what meaning? To be worthy in the eyes of my children. Does everybody see how that moves up into a pinnacle? If you start filtering the actions and your thoughts, what you do and why you do what you do, then you can change every day and learn how to do this thing that I've been mentioning for the last year or so, is you let go of good things. There's a ton of good things that we're supposed to be doing, but we can't do them all. And don't you feel at the end of the day that you're exhausted and you're just run to death and you didn't get all of them done and you feel somehow less? But if you have to understand that there's only so much time in our linear continuum called reality. So you have to let go of the good things in order to do what? Those
Great things.
the great things, right? Okay. And I promise you, this is a hard thing to do. I struggle with it every day. But part of the things that had me disappear for the last 3 months, and I've not been on any calls or anything, was for me to go back and sit down and immerse myself and go, Steve, what are you doing and why are you doing this? You built this Rubicon system a long time ago to change people's lives, and you haven't taken anybody through the system in 5 years. You made it available, but it's not enough, Steve. Does that make you worthy? Okay. Viktor Frankl said that it's the striving and the struggling for a worthy cause that takes us from meaningless to meaningful, right? The struggle and the striving for a worthy cause. It doesn't mean it's going to be easy. Me putting up my content on a website called gonerubicon.com and saying, hey, 40,000 people come by here, get my manuals for free, use my compass for free. I developed all this for the world. And I was trying to check that box and go, Steve, you're doing enough. No, it wasn't. No, it's me being able to walk you through and show you how I learned to apply that, giving you real life examples, and you being able to go, Steve, I don't understand this part. How does that work? And then that coaching part, that's what moves the needle. That's why I decided to change this program and become wider in my perspective, so that I'm not just focusing on helping you become an authority figure. I'm helping you navigate your life. And if I can help you perform better in your life by passionately planning, preparing, and practicing, what's going to happen? You're going to perform better. You're going to become more worthy. Your actions are going to be more meaningful. And what does that mean for our world? Thumbs up. Our world is going to be better because you're better. And it's all about these small, tiny concepts. It's the concepts of tiny right actions accumulated over time that create exponential hockey stick effect, is what we call it, where you see the stick, boom. That's what happens. It's doing the right small thing. It's the small hinges that move the big doors, right? That's what we're here for, okay? Is everybody with me? Okay.
Yeah.
So we've got another minute or two before I'm actually a little over time, because I promised you I'd stay here on 30 minutes to get you kicked off on a good start each week. We'll be here every week, same time, same place. If you can't be here, I'll make it available to you on the YouTube channel, so you can grab it there. And I'll put it in the groups, the YouTube group, and also not the YouTube group, the Messenger group, and also the WhatsApp group. So you can easily grab it. If you can't make it, I understand, okay? The point that I want to do is continue to give you little exercises like the last one we're going to practice here. is I want you to go to a future point within the next 3 years of your life. I don't want you to think about how you're going to get there. I just want you to think about this place in life that is the culmination of what you have been trying to get to for your entire life. 3 years from now, I want you to think about that for a second. I want you to get that place in your mind. And I want you to actually feel what it feels like to be in that place. And I mean, really feel it. Don't let your logical, reasoning mind try to jump in there and tell you, oh, well, you haven't done so-and-so to get there yet, or that's too big of a mountain to climb. Go to the mountain peak. Go to that peak experience. See the other people there. Feel what the event is that you have been trying to reach. Now, I want you to give thanks for it. Thanks, because being thankful is that the event has already happened in your past. That is a process that Dr. Joe Dispenza says is a game changer. It's not about going back in our past and trying to fix how the things are messed up in our head. It's focusing on the event in your future, getting to the event, sitting in the event to the point to where you can feel the event itself, that you can feel the accomplishment, you can feel the worthiness, the meaningfulness of it. And then sitting in that event and feeling grateful for everything that has happened that got you there. Okay? Now, that is a very important practice that I practice every morning in my PTO, prepping the objective. I know what I want to accomplish. I know why I want to accomplish it. I don't care about the how and the what. That will find me. You need to have that passionate mission that is you plan, prepare, and practice to do what? To perform when it matters most. That's what we're here for. All right? Good? Did this help you today? Everybody
Yes,
help?
very much.
Okay. Awesome.
Excellent. Thanks, Steve. Good to hear your voice again.
Good. Good to hear each one of you. Thank you for being here.
Thanks,
And,
Steve.
I will
Thank you,
see you again
Steve.
here next
Thank you
week.
for your
Same
time.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
Have a great day.
God, take care.